What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the Symmetry Plus, the Commuter, the Defender Pro XT, and the Defender. Let's get into it. Alright, so I was here once before already. I did the review on the Defender Pro, or the comparison on the Defender Pro, the Commuter, and the Symmetry, and I left out the Defender Pro XT. I've never had a Defender Pro XT. I'm not sure if this is the first time they've offered it for a phone. Let me know in the comments below if you know the answer to that, if this is like a brand new phone in the lineup. But we're going to check it out today, and I'll give you my thoughts on all of them. So I've obviously already unboxed all of these, but I'm going to take them out again. I figured I'd put them back in so we can compare the cases, the boxing really quick. Not really any difference at all, aside from the height of them. These three are pretty much exactly the same. This one's obviously a lot thicker because it has the holster and all that in there. They all have got, some of them have the MagSafe branding. These two don't. This one does. These two do. The QI charging, from what I can tell, works on all of these. I didn't have a problem QI charging any of these. I used them all for about a week individually, and I charge only with QI chargers, so I didn't have a problem there. Obviously, the thicker cases probably charge a little bit slower, but when I woke up in the morning, I was at 100% battery. So the first case I got, and you might have seen the review for that, was the Symmetry. And I initially really liked it. It's thin, it's not too heavy, it offers decent protection, and it looks pretty good. It comes in at their 3X tested, 3X military standard testing for the drop rating. It's got the MagSafe stuff available to it. It fits on the phone really well. I should say it fits on really tightly. It's actually kind of a pain in the butt to get on. Not the hardest out of all the cases, but it's not the easiest either. Once you do get on there, it feels pretty good. All the buttons work really well. They're kind of subtle. They don't make a lot of noise, not a lot of movement on them, but it does work. The cutouts are perfectly fine, and you can get to the rocker, no problem. Overall, I'd give this like an 8 out of 10. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. If you want something thin and light with a lot of protection, this is probably one of the best cases you can get. And for the thin and light, it's definitely the one to go with from OtterBox. Now moving on to the next case, the Commuter. This case is, I would say, so it has the same drop test rating as the Symmetry, but I feel like it is a little bit more protecting of the phone. It's definitely thicker. It's got a different design, so it's got the hard outer shell and the soft inner shell. And I definitely feel like it's more protecting than the other phone. We offer a higher drop rating, but who am I to say that OtterBox's ratings aren't accurate? It goes on really easily, as I have a problem with the inner shell. The inner soft part, I should say. There we go. The access to the ports is fine. The access to the power buttons and the volume rocker are perfect. As a matter of fact, they're probably a little bit more reactive than the Symmetry. So yeah, the Commuter case fits really well. I'd say it's a step up from the Symmetry. It's a little bit thicker. The dimensions are pretty much similar the rest of the way around. It's not much wider. But I'd definitely say it has a couple millimeters on the Symmetry case. It's not as tight going in, and the lip isn't as big. So there's definitely a lip around the camera. There's definitely a lip around the optics on the Symmetry that's a little bit more pronounced than it is on the Commuter. But overall, I'd say they're both great cases. So if you want a case that's super thin, very easy to put in the pocket, this is definitely going to be it. This one definitely slides a little more easily. The Commuter has these little grippy parts here. So when it gets into the pocket, it won't move around as much. So if you're constantly getting in and out of a vehicle or something like that, and you're worried about this slipping out of your pocket and maybe falling on the ground, this might be a good option because these guys will help prevent that from happening. One thing I also noticed, this case does not rock nearly as much as the other cases, also due to those rubber feet there. So great case, I really like it. These two are pretty much your entry-level cases when it comes to the OtterBox stuff. So let's move on. Comes off super easy, which I like as well. So the Defender Pro XT was the last case in the series that I purchased. And I honestly didn't think I would like it that much. But it's grown on me. The installation is awful, and they definitely need to include a pick for the installation. It makes it a lot easier to get the inner ring out when we've already got the phone in there. But the case itself does feel really nice. It's a little bit slippery, like the Symmetry. It does have some grippiness on the sides, so it will probably stay in your pocket a little better than a completely slick case. And the front of it on the edges too is a little grippy. If you watch my other video, you'll see my gripe was with the installation process. It wasn't that straightforward. But now that I've done it once or twice, I think I can do it in a more reasonable amount of time. Getting it out is a lot less exciting. It was not fun to take out. Let's see if this makes it any better. The last time I did the installation took like 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, these corners are just a pain in the butt. So when you get to an area like that where it's all tucked in, having the pick makes it so much easier. This is my biggest gripe with any of these cases so far, is this one in particular. The installation process just wasn't thought out very well. I don't know what they have to do differently, but something should be done, because this is kind of a pain, you know. And if you're not technical or you have a hard time with your hands, like if you got arthritis or something like that, and your dexterity isn't that good, you might have a problem. You might not be able to install this case yourself. You might need them to do that at the store, like at a Verizon or T-Mobile or something like that when you're buying it. But now that it's on, I will say I do like it a lot more than I thought I would. I feel like it's a perfect balance between the Defender Pro, which is super thick, and the Symmetry Plus and the Commuter. It's right in the middle and probably my favorite case out of the bunch. I would say for sure my favorite case if the installation was a little bit better. So going over everything, you can get to the rockers, no problem. It's actually kind of got an ergonomic cutout for your finger in there. The buttons are very responsive and nice and clicky. The optics protection is perfectly fine. I'd say it's on par actually with the Symmetry case, maybe even a little bit more pronounced. Yeah, it's kind of got a bigger lip there, so it definitely offers a protection. But it feels good in the hand, even though it is chunky. So I like it. Definitely grew on me after getting it, and after complaining so much about the installation. Ugh, raw. Okay, so moving on to the next and last case is the good old Defender Pro. Now, one thing I kind of have a question about in my head is, if you take a look, the protection on the Defender Pro is 4x, and the Defender Pro XT has 5x. I kind of find it hard to believe. Like, I almost have a hard time believing that rating, simply because if you look at the installation material, it just feels so much more robust and there's so much more material. The installation is way better on this too. But I feel like when I measure the weight in a few seconds here, we'll be able to really figure out how much more material there is. Yeah, it feels good in the hand. It's definitely very grippy because the entire outside is the rubber. One of the gripes I do have with this case is I feel like the back gets a little loose over time. And what's interesting is it's almost like it stretches, because when you take the phone out of the case and you let it sit for a while, it goes back to how it feels when you first got it. So one thing to keep in mind, it does wear a little strangely. But that being said, I do really like the case. If I had to only keep 2 of these, it would definitely be this one and probably the XT. They're just really nice cases that offer a ton of protection, and I like to swap out my cases pretty often. So, all right, so now that we've unboxed them all, we've taken a quick look at how they go onto the phone. Let's get some weight measurements in here. The phone itself is 255 grams. The Symmetry Plus case is 44 grams. The Commuter is 58. The Defender Pro XT is 56. So the Defender Pro XT actually weighs less than the Commuter. That's kind of surprising. And then the Defender Pro is roughly 80 grams. With the holster is 143 grams. That's pretty surprising. That the Commuter weighs more than the Defender XT. Now, if I had to only keep 2 of these cases, so the Symmetry is nice, right? It's a cool little case. It goes on pretty snugly, but I probably would get rid of it. It's really thin compared to the other ones, but if I want to go really thin, I'd probably throw a Pataka on there, something really thin along those lines. So the Symmetry is going to go. Now, the next in line here, the Commuter, I like it. It goes on real quick. It feels good in the hand. It doesn't require me having some tool around or getting frustrated with that inner ring that you have on the XT. So I'd probably get rid of the XT as well. These would probably be the 2 cases I would keep. This would be my daily driver, and this would be when I'm going hiking or doing something crazy when I'm outside, or when I just want to change it up a little bit. Either of these cases, either of all 4 of these cases is fantastic. If you have one of them and you're happy, I'm not saying you need to get out there and replace and get something different, but this is just my take on all 4 of these cases. All of them are going to protect your phone above average. All of them are going to give you the best shot at surviving a drop. The XT feels really great. If you have it, I'm sure it'll do fine. It's just has that outer ring really got me. I do not like the installation process. That being said, when it is in the phone, it's tight. It feels good. That ring really does take up the gap. There's no gap in between the glass on the phone and that ring. It comes together really well. So if you want something with super tight tolerances that will protect your phone with a really high rating, the 5X rating from OtterBox, this might be your jam. If you want something that you can get in and out of really quickly that also offers decent protection and has that dual layer approach, the Commuter's for you. If you want to take that dual layer approach to the next level and have even more protection, the Defender Pro is going to be your jam. And I don't know the measurements for sure, but I definitely feel like this Defender Pro is thinner and more less bulky than the other Defender Pros. So I like the direction they're going with this. It does not have a ring around the optics that sticks out too. So if that's something you're not into, this is the one to go for. The Symmetry, like I said, is nice. It's a good all-around case, but it's probably my least favorite of the bunch, to be honest. I do not like how tight it is going on. It's very tight when you put it on the phone. But like I said, if you're into it and you like it, good for you. Not a bad case. It's got that MagSafe protection as well too. So thanks for stopping by today to check out this video with me and go over these awesome cases. If you have one of these OtterBoxes on your iPhone 13 Pro, let me know which one you got. If you're thinking about purchasing it and you end up making a decision based off this video, I would love to hear that and to know which one you ended up going with. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up button. The thumbs down one works as well. And as always, I'd appreciate the subscription. Peace.